Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden, but we're heading north for this one. So we're going to return to Uppsala, which is of course home to Sweden's oldest university. A very pretty city actually. I thought it was really nice when I went and visited there. But for this one we're going to try one of the new breweries that have just recently opened up actually. So for this one we're going to try my first beer from Upp Brewing, and we're having a taste of their Smooth Sailing today. So this one comes in at 5.6%, it's a porter, and you know, I'm very curious to try this beer. Of course, the main breweries that you have in, I shouldn't say main breweries I guess, but the other breweries you have in Uppsala of course are the Slottskällens Brewery, and you also have the Temple Bryghus as well, who are probably best known for their sour beers. So it's cool to see that another little brewery's opened up there, and yeah, it should be an interesting beer this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Upp Brewing. This is the very first time I'm trying one of their beers. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then. I've only got a little bit of information on this brewery because they are very, very new. So as I mentioned to you before, Upp Brewing are based in Uppsala in Sweden, which is about an hour or so to the north of Stockholm, but the company was founded by two friends, Chris and Travis, back in summer of 2017. So Chris is German, he's from Hamburg, and he came from a background in working with paraffin, and apparently also worked as a parachute packer as well before he became a brewer at the Slottskällens Brewery, which as I mentioned is one of the other ones in Uppsala back in 2013. Travis comes from Australia, and he actually worked in the mines as a mechanical engineer, and the two met in Sweden of course, and at the moment they've got 3 beers in Systembolaget, and their brewing capacity is apparently in the 40,000 litres per year sort of range at the moment. So as I say, a very, very new brewery. It's only recently that they've got their beers into Systembolaget. The other one that they have there I think is a pale ale, when I looked it up on Systembolaget's website before. So that's kind of an interesting one there, and this of course was another beer that was released very early on in I think it was the 1st of October 2018 that this one came through the release. I stuck in an order and got this along with a couple of other breweries, but like I say, very cool to see that there's another brewery opening up in Uppsala, and yeah, it should be an interesting beer. You don't get all that many porters being released these days, which is kind of cool. Of course it's all about the imperial stouts and the New England hazy IPAs and stuff these days, so the porter, I think it's been a long time actually since I've reviewed a porter for you on the channel, so very curious to see how this one turns out, but yeah, it should be kind of interesting. So yeah, as you can see with this one, quite nicely presented there. You can see on the side there's the distinctive kind of spires, can you say, the spires of the Uppsala Cathedral. The Uppsala Cathedral I think is the biggest one in Sweden. I think it's, I forget, the one in Lund is the biggest stone cathedral, whereas this one is actually very slightly bigger, and it's the biggest brick cathedral I think in Scandinavia. So kind of cool actually. It's quite nice to go inside with this one. But yeah, nicely presented beer this one. You can see on the back, designed and tested around the fire pit. These guys, like I say, Chris was a professional brewer, but later on they started kind of home brewing together and doing small batch things. Plain bottle cap on this one, but yeah, nicely presented this one. It says this one is best before the 5th of January 2020, so you could age this beer a little bit if you wanted, but I want to try it fresh, and maybe I'll get another one and see if we can age that a little bit. But yeah, let's see how we get on with this beer. Very curious to see what it's like. So yeah, nice smoky opening there, and we'll get it out and into the glass. Like I told you at the start, this one 5.6% porter, and you can smell some of these nice dark malty aromas coming off this as you open it up. So yeah, on the pour, it looks pretty much as you would expect from this style of beer. If I hold it up to the light, yeah, dark ebony rosewood colour. There's a little bit of light sort of coming around the edges on this one. It's got a dark kind of almost Coca-Cola sort of colour when you've got the light coming through the edges, but pretty much as you would expect a porter to appear. With this one, I'd say you've got a half finger of a frothy, mainly beige coloured, so yeah, sort of beigey, maybe slightly fawny coloured head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head there. And just as I'm moving the beer around within the glass, it's a little, you can smell that it's quite a sweet porter, this one actually. The aroma that I was getting from it did seem as if it was quite sweet. So let's take a closer look at the aroma with this one and just see how we get on. Yeah, I mean, when you go closer into it as well, it does come across as being quite sweet. I mean, with this one, underneath you can pick up a little bit of a slightly bready character with it, because it has a little bit of that. You can smell that there's a bit of a roasted black malt backbone there, which again is what you would expect. Nice chocolatey notes as well. For me, the chocolate that's coming out of this one is a little bit more milky. It does have a little bit of that milky chocolate presence. But at the same time, you can smell that there is a little bit of that kind of higher 80-90%, maybe not quite 90%, around the 80 sort of percent cocoa mark on this one. You do have a little bit of darker chocolate in there, but definitely a roasted black malt backbone in there. I wonder if there's a little bit of brown sugar in there or something. There is a little bit of a kind of caramelly note. I'm thinking it's quite a well-fired, toasty caramel that's coming out of this beer in the aroma. Yeah. Definitely a little bit of a well-fired kind of toasty thing going on there with the caramel. But yeah, it's a really interesting one. There's a good bit of stuff going on in this beer. Let's see if we can get rid of this now. Computer's been a pain. But yeah, with this one, it's got a nice brown sugars. There's a good bit of a red fruity note to this one. It's almost got a little touch of a kind of medicinally, cough syrupy quality in terms of the fruit. It's got some figs, it's got a bit of prune or something like that, and there is a little bit of an almost like raisiny sharpness to it as well. But yeah, the chocolatey notes in this one are really nice. They were saying on the side you get a little bit of coffee. I'm not getting too much of that in the aroma. I think it's more of a roasted kind of black malt, but at the same time it does have a bit of smoothness to it, so maybe. But yeah, a little bit of earthy hop in there as well. You can pick up a little bit of the earthiness from the hops in this one. But yeah, just take a little bit of time, as I always say, and enjoy the aroma. But overall, for me, this porter in terms of its aroma is actually quite sweet. There's a lot going on in this one, so just, as I say, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma before you actually get stuck into this beer. So let's have a taste of this one then. So this one is the Smooth Sailing, a porter at 5.6% ABV from Upp Brewing from Uppsala to the north of Stockholm in Sweden. Let's get stuck into this one. Slanja, Skull, and thank you to Travis as well for the information on the brewery. Cheers. Yeah, the thing you're going to notice with this beer right away is how smooth it is. It's a very easy to drink beer, this one. I'll say that about it. This beer is really easy drinking. Yeah, it's got quite the mouthfeel of this one is really interesting as well. It's very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's clean, but it's also very smooth at the same time. So I like what this one is going for, I have to say that. So yeah, let's try and break this down a bit. As I always say, with these darker beers, sugar it around your palate a little bit and just kind of let your whole mouth adjust before you start kind of analysing the flavour too much. But for me, yeah, with this one, as you go further into the aftertaste with this beer, you can feel a little bit of the roasted black malt just kind of pushing its way out of this one, which is pretty good. So you can feel that forming the kind of linchpin of the beer. There is a little bit of a presence, a little bit of a bready presence to this one, but it's kind of minimal, that actually. The beer evolves and becomes a little bit more sweet. A lot of this one's about the chocolate. There's maybe a little touch of coffee to this one, but by no means is this beer like a coffee stout or a coffee porter. There is just a little bit of that in there. Of course, the key difference between the stouts and the porters really is the mouthfeel. Like it's almost like if you could think about the Schwarzbier in Germany. That I always find the porter is the equivalent of the English equivalent of the Schwarzbier. It's like it's got the stout flavours, but it's a lot lighter in the body and in the mouthfeel and things like that. That mainly is your difference with the porter, and this one is it's quite a sessionable porter. This, if you like, sessioning dark beers and things like that, if you like the Czech Tmavis or the German Schwarzbiers and things like that, the porter, the English porter is always a good kind of alternative. I think the only country, usually in England, it's light beers that are session beers, right enough, but in Germany and in Czech Republic as well, they've got the Tmavis and the Schwarzbiers, and a lot of people do like those and session those. But yeah, this is nice. So like I say, a bit of a roasted malt, roasted black backbone there, coming out more in the aftertaste. A little bit of a smooth breadiness on top of that, and then as you go further into the flavour, you can feel the sweet chocolatiness coming out. There's a little bit of milky note. There's a bit of a dark, there's a little bit of a kind of darker, higher cocoa kind of chocolate thing there as well. I think there's a little touch of brown sugar in the middle of the palate. So if you go right to the centre of your palate, I think there's just a tiny little touch of caramel there, but it's nowhere near as prevalent as I thought it was going to be from the aroma. You can pick up a good little bit of brown sugar, I think, in the aroma of this one, but it doesn't come out so much in the mouthfeel. There is a little touch of a kind of coffee smoothness there as well, but mainly it's as you get, as I say, as you get further and further into the aftertaste with this one, it's the roasty black malt that comes out of this, and you do, as I say, that kind of slightly coffee-ish smoothness comes out of this one as well. I would be interested to know if they have put some coffee beans in this one, because the coffee certainly does come out a lot more in the flavour than it does in the aroma. But yeah, I really like how kind of smooth this beer is. It's very well balanced in the malt base between the sweetness and the more roasty kind of bitter qualities, if you like. Onto the hoppy side of the beer though, back corners of the palate, there's a little touch of bitterness there, sort of earthy bitterness this one, and it kind of smooths out as you come further forward along the sides of the tongue. And as you go round the very front curve of the palate, it's just a little bit lighter and grassy. The hops are very, very straightforward in this. I would suspect that they've used English hops in this one. I would say that about this, but I think there could be something, I don't know if there might be a little bit of like Williamette or something like that in this beer. Yeah, I think it could be that there's an English hop in there, but because it does have some of that distinctive earthiness. The English hops were always distinctive for the earthy character, but I think that the fruitiness of this one is a bit more American, so maybe it is Williamette, or it could. I've heard that Summit is quite often used, if I'm remembering correctly, in porters and things like that as well, so it could be something like that, because behind the front curve of the palate you've got that nice little oily bubble where the fruity juicy esters come out of the beer. And for me, this one, it's mainly a kind of figgy flavour that's coming out of this one. Yeah, it's got a little bit of a figgy quality to it. It's not quite as pruny in things. It smells a lot. There's a lot more complexity, I think, to the fruity notes in this one in the aroma than there is in the flavour of the beer itself. But yeah, a little bit of a figgy note. As you go further into the aftertaste, it becomes a little bit more like a kind of candied strawberry or something like that. The flavour reminds me a little bit of the little heart-shaped sweets you get in the Haribo Star Mix, this one. But it's nice, this beer. Everything I think about this goes together. I like the way that it becomes, the aftertaste of this one is really nice. It's just got that smooth, almost coffee-ish quality to it, and there's a little bit of the roasted black malt in there, and in the centre of the palate you've got a little bit of that sweetness and some juicy fruit as well. It's one of these beers that's not really in your face, but it's all about how the flavours kind of blend together. I think that's a good way to kind of summarise this one, and the thing that's sticking out to me with this one too is how easy it is to drink. It's a very, very easy drinking porter, and it's a style that it's a style that I wouldn't think to session, but with this beer you really could do it actually. It's a very nice thing. I like a Schwarzbier, I like a Tmavi, but a porter's never a beer I would think, oh, you would go and have a few of those, you know. This is one that you actually I could see myself sessioning if I did that. I don't really do that with beer right enough. I tend not to drink beer all that much when I actually go out, unless it's, you know, we go to a special beer pub or something like that. But for me, yeah, this one is really quite nice actually. I like what they've done with this porter. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say it's at the lighter end of mid-bodied. Carbonation's very smooth. The mouthfeel in this one, it's a little touch oily. There's a little bit of an almost kind of creamy note in there, which is interesting. That's the thing you notice about this one. It has got a little touch of that kind of stouty smoothness to it, which is quite interesting. It's not as wet as some of the porters that you can come across, but you know, by all means, it definitely is lighter than the stouts in the mouthfeel and in the body as well. But nice balance. It's got a little touch. It's got a little touch of hoppy bitterness in there. By no means is it going to blow your head off in terms of IBUs or anything like that. Good balance in the malt base between the more roasty characters and the sweeter side of things, and it's also got a little bit of a juicy fruity quality. So it's got everything that you would want from a porter beer, and it's just quite a nice sort of sessionable one, this. I think that's a good way to sort of sum up this one, and I think the name Smooth Sailing does kind of suit it well, just because of the way the mouthfeel comes out. I'm not sure if that's intentional right enough, but yeah, I think this is a nice sessionable porter, this one. So yeah, thumbs up to Upp Brewing for this one. They've done a good job of it, and I'd be very curious to try their pale ales and their IPAs and stuff at the other end of the spectrum. That's always a good way to get a measure of a brewery. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. An interesting porter, and I definitely want to try some of the other beers from this brewery and see how they get on. So yeah, this one, the Smooth Sailing Porter, was it 5.6%? Yep, 5.6%. from Upp Brewing in Uppsala here in Sweden. Another new brewery on the thing. Check them out and see what you think for yourself. But once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Upp Brewing and as well, and hopefully I can return to these guys in the fairly near future. Make sure you check out my social media, and I will catch you guys very soon with more beer reviews. The Smooth Sailing Porter from Upp Brewing in Uppsala, just to the north of Stockholm here in Sweden. Until the next time, it's Landry just now, and I'll catch you guys very soon. Skål.